The little girl was yet to know the taste of salt water and the curls of a cigarette, but knew by the way her garden gate would click back and forth across the latch when it was windy. From the day she fell from her tire swing, she knew that the pull of gravity owed her very little, if anything at all, and this made her want more. More than tea time, bedtime and daytime, she yearned for a nighttime so thick that her adventures would almost suffocate her, so alive that they'd pull at her hair like bird claws. Her back garden wasn't enough anymore. At last she realised that it was easier to get lost than to be found, and maybe, unlike the toys she'd misplaced over the years, on supermarket shelves slumped still at a bus stop, this rule would for once work in her favour. Her black, buckled shoes seemed to be leading her somewhere she'd been missing her whole life. All around her towered a forest, with trees so thick with leaves that they were French platters as they fell. Her hands swelled red with scratches, but they kept reaching up, helping her climb the tallest tree, and she realised that nature would leave its marks on her, but she could leave her marks in return. With pushing herself up one last time, the little girl decided that she was not a graceful person, and her bones would still click each night, but she'd rather have climbed the tallest tree in the forest than pirouette across the stage in a tutu. Her body tripped back into a cloud, but her mind disguised it as a fall, and she wondered where the clouds were hiding when everyone else was enjoying a sunny day. She supposed it would be a lonely life, and pondered for a little while, until it began to rain. Skin shattered into goosebumps, and her whole body was dunked under the lining of the sea. The salt stung. Her ribcage seemed heavy again. The truth about being so cold is that it sneaks up on you in no time at all, and leaves your clothes clinging to your body like moles. And in those moments of shivering you realise, and she realised, that the sun had set in no time at all. A whale passed by. Sitting in her stomach, it was pinker than she'd thought. It was a relief that she'd brought her rucksack, pausing only to press her fingers into the bruises that aligned their way down the side of her spine. She flicked on a torch. She was, as little girls trapped in whales' tummies often do, missing the sky, wondering if she'd ever see his nighttime freckles again. She'd always assumed she'd be counting them for the rest of her life. What a strange thing it was that outside this whale's tummy, lightning was striking and thunder was crackling, and rain still poured into the sea. But the little girl was now safe and warm, hanging up her mustard yellow cardigan and tights, so that they'd dry before tea. The prospect of falling asleep seemed beautiful, and that made her feel old. As the lightning dulled outside, a gush of water woke her from her daze. She was thrown up and blown out the comfort of her newfound friend's insides, before she had time to grab her drying clothes. But with a torch in hand, flooding the outside with light, her hair blew around her face like string. The crazy paving settled beneath her. The overgrown grass grew between her toes. Her cardigan, now stained with mud, watched her while it hung from the oak tree. She felt like she'd been missing for years. But above her, the sky still shouted blue, and tea-time smells drifted from the kitchen door. This little girl glanced down at her scratched hands, pale with the cold of the sea, pulled herself to her feet, and wondered inside. She'd been lost and found, all before tea.